Alright, so this is part 2 of your DIY anniversary book card. And it's the card book because it's a card made out of a book. Okay, so I am setting down my paper so that I can paint on this lovely surface without ruining it. And I've got to paint the back. So that's the first step. I'm using gesso. I'm using white acrylic paint again. You could use gesso if you had some. Gesso is a thick white paint that you use to prime your canvases when you're working on an art piece. So I like using the fanning brush right now, and I'm getting that out. Get my water. If you're not going to cover the rest of your workspace, just be mindful of where the paint jar is actually going and the lid. And this part is pretty easy. Cover as much as you can. We will be using some Mod Podge and paper later on to cover this book cover, and so this is just to give us something to make sure you can't see through the pages, I suppose, because we're going to be using some thin pages. Well, that's what I'll be using. You can use whatever pages you want to use. I used pages with text. And you're going to let that dry at least, I'd say at least for half an hour. And even a lot longer, maybe an hour or an hour and a half if you have any thick spots there. Next step is more painting. This whole video is probably going to be about painting everything white. And most of the page is white. You've taped everything and cut out some bulk. You got the front and the back covered in white paint, and the spine isn't really covered, but like I said, you'll be Mod Podging paper over that anyway. I like that I like my books to be plain white before I start any sort of art on them, collages on them. It's not always the case, but I like at least some of that. Save your white paint again, your brush. Now you can get out your paintbrush again, and we're going to cover the first few pages, the back of the book, and the first page in white paint again. So it's pretty easy, same step as what we just did, and the rest of the video is the same. So I'll start you up here, we'll fast forward a little bit, and I only did the first 3 or 4 pages in this book and left the rest blank. I did not paint them white because I actually used some paper in the next pages. We'll see later on in the video, so hang on for another couple minutes. The next part is using that paper in this book. So we will glue some more paper in and get the pages pretty much set, maybe the first 4 or 5 pages. Okay, so keep a lookout for the next step after this little fast forward through painting everything white. All right. Alright, in this video we are going to figure out how to take the next step in the next few pages. We're going to use some decorative paper, which means you can use, what's it called? Scrapbook paper if you have any of that. I use sometimes just like, you'll get gift bags or like you'll go to a store like Hallmark or something and they'll have like really nice paper bags with prints on them or something, and you can bring those home and use them. There could also be, let's see, tissue paper if you like tissue paper. You'll be able to see through that, but you could use that. You could use your own kind of paper that you've printed on or written on. That's really nice. I did use some Bible pages in this from a very old Bible. You can get them either free sometimes or very cheap. And the pages are thin, which is great for decoupaging. And if the people that you are making the card for are into scripture or text or ancient anything really, then you can use that. You could also use other historical writings. I use things that are thrifted and cheap. And I know it's a book, I don't want to take it apart, but it's also being used for something else. And I feel like that's a good purpose for it. So I've used that, and I've got masking tape and Mod Podge, which is a very important part of this project in this step. So we've got to get the paper bag to fit the page because it automatically didn't come in the same size. I'm going to use tape and I'm going to rip. So I'm going to rip the paper to size. I'm keeping it in a bag shape, as in I'm making a pocket on the page. I want to put something in the pockets. So there's going to be 2 pockets in this fold out section of the book. Rip it to size and make sure that all the corners, 3 out of 4 of the sides are taped together. I used the masking tape just in a regular tan because that fits the color scheme of fall and neutral colors. I've got a lot of blacks and golds going on, browns and whites, so it's very kind of fall colors that are going to be going on in here. And so I'm using tan. You can use any color you want. You can also paint it later if you wanted to. And so you make sure 3 out of the 4 sides are taped shut. And I left the one side that's going to be the pocket side pocket open side. I had ripped the one side of that opening a little shorter than the other side of the opening, just so you knew it was an opening and that wasn't just, paper there. So I did that for both of them. And what you're going to do is you are going to, after everything is taped, you're going to paint with your paintbrush some Mod Podge on the back side, or on the book. You can paint it on the page of the book. That would actually be good. Painting it on the page that you want the paper on, and you can give it a good coating. You don't really want it to be too thin because you want the Mod Podge to kind of seep into the paper a little. So paint it, and then you're going to take your paper and just press it to the page that has the Mod Podge on it. Okay, so we'll finish up on the other side of this page. The same thing with more paper that makes a pocket with the tape and the Mod Podge. Follow along and you'll see how it's done.